Hello, and welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way for you to sell highly appreciated cryptocurrency, businesses, real estate, save a failed 1031 exchange so you can create and preserve more wealth and defer hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in capital gains tax. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts, and each episode I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas and inspiration and deal stories so we can help you create and preserve more wealth, and so that we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. I'm excited about our next guest. He was born and raised in Rapid City, South Dakota, and he moved to Berkeley, California in 1994 to attend the Graduate Theological Union's Institute of Buddhist Studies. The following year, he began his career in financial services and found his true vocation. Although he enjoys the puzzled look on people's faces when they first hear of this unlikely professional transition, it is clear to all who work with mindful money that this gentleman's unique background informs his unwavering commitment to providing truly holistic wealth management. Please welcome to the show with me, Jonathan K. DeYoe. Jonathan, how you doing?
I'm well, Brett. I'm excited for the conversation.
Thanks for being here. And for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, so I mean, you made a perfect introduction. I mean, the idea very simply is that I'm a seminarian. So I came to California to actually study Lutheran theology. I turned into a Buddhist academic, and then I turned into a financial advisor. And that the arc of that story actually talks about, and I'm investing all my life. So I've invested in public markets for 40 years, and in real estate for probably 20 years, and in private markets for probably 15 years. So I have a ton of experience in investing, but I bring to the investing this general understanding that not all people want to be active investors. And so the niche I've carved out is to help people who aren't really interested in pursuing it personally, actively, engaging deeply in markets. They're more interested in their family and their writing or their arts or their business they're building or what have you. They're not interested in managing money. So I work with a lot of those kinds of people on a simple process for building and managing wealth. And bringing simplicity and mindfulness has been a boon for both my career and for our clients.
Excellent. We're going to talk about unlocking your money and mindfulness, and we're going to be digging deep here in a minute. But before we go there, Jonathan, I do want to take one other step back. I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life. Some people call them superpowers. Some people call them strengths. I believe they're given to us by God, and they've been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. So I'm curious, maybe going back to your studies before, even high school when you were younger, right? What are those one or two gifts that you believe you were given, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
Gifts given as a child. I think that the most important thing that I was given by my parents was a belief that I could do it. Was just an understanding that you put in the work, you put in the effort, and a belief that I could do it. We didn't have money. We didn't have we were poor for most of my growing up. My parents were unemployed for most of my growing up. Ran businesses that weren't very successful. Lost businesses, lost real estate in to the lenders, these kinds of things. So we struggled a lot financially, but they always said, Jonathan, you work hard, you do your homework, you work hard, you work harder than anyone else, you will be successful. And that belief is probably the first and most important thing that they gave me. The second most important thing they gave me was the ability to focus on the stuff that's good in our life. So we didn't have much, like I said, but we had more than others. So my parents had no problem sharing with what we had with people that had even less. And so when you think about the financial courses that we've built, and we think about the work with clients and the work that we do, one of the things that, working with wealthy people is interesting. But one of the things I'm most curious about now is, how do I help other people become wealthy? How do I help other people reach their life's success, reach well-being, reach happiness, and feel financially okay? I want people to have enough and feel that they have enough.
Jonathan, that's beautiful. It's a great way to segue into unlocking money mindfulness for all of us here. And by the way, if you want to learn more about Jonathan DeYoe, you can go to mindful.money. That's mindful.money. So, Jonathan, let's dive right in. So, what is the number one secret to unlocking your money mindfulness, or our money mindfulness? What would be the first thing you would like to share with us here?
Yeah, the most important thing I think we can do is actually go inside. This makes a lot of sense when you think about my background, starting off as a seminarian and becoming a Buddhist academic. And you don't have to meditate. I recommend that you do, but you don't have to. The most important part of any financial plan is understanding what you're planning for. And to understand what you're planning for, that's goals. That's what are the things that are most important to you. And that starts with purpose, and purpose starts with values. So we built a course, and it's free on our website when you go to it. It's a values, purpose, and goals course. And the most important step when you're starting to think about your financial future is really understanding what you want it to look like. Once you know what you want it to look like, it's very easy to create a plan to get there. But if you don't know, if you don't go internal, if you don't think about it and don't spend some time with it, the world will just give you things to be worried about. The world will just wonderfully, here, you should pursue this, or you should pursue that. Your parents will give you a job path. Your peer group will tell you how to spend your money. If you go to social media, you'll see the kinds of things you're supposed to want. But if you don't go internal and think about it yourself, you'll never know what will bring you happiness and what will bring you well-being. And you'll always be on the search for more. And that's unnecessary. You don't need more, you need enough.
Okay, so make sure I capture that. So go inside, right? And that could involve meditating or not, but you do recommend that. And really understanding your values, your purpose, and your goals, and what is it that you're planning for, for this chapter of your life, for the season of your life, for the future of your life and your family, and how that involves with finances. And then I do like that quote you said, the world will give you things to worry about, right? Isn't that so true? I mean, that's where we're at in this world, where they're telling us everything we should be worried about, we should be angry about, we should be upset about, we should be doing something about, right? I mean, it's constant, and it's from maybe 100 voices, right, in 100 directions, 100 times a day, and it can be quite a bit of the opposite of being mindful. It could be kind of chaotic. So maybe walk us into the second secret, or the second step, once you've done the first one. But also, any thoughts on what I just said?
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. We are inundated every day, and there's something just to understand, and that's everyone is selling you. Everything you hear, every message, every commercial, every political message, everyone is trying to get you on their side. Everyone is, and that's not bad. Like, we should just expect that people are going to look out for what's important to them. Like, maybe it's animals in the shelter that's important to them, and so they're going to post things on Facebook or on Twitter about how you should support animals in the shelter. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it's helping the homeless. Maybe it's whatever it is. Every message you get is designed to move you in some way, or to show you how important the messenger is. And if you understand that, then you go, okay, well, that's their thing. What's my thing? So we keep coming back to that first thing, is what's important to me. What do I need to do? When it comes to our space is finance. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. We work with a lot of artists, writers that are very successful. And the thing that they want to do is they want to build something. They want to write something. They want to create a company. They don't want to worry about their finances. So what we've created the easiest path, which for us is more like passive investing. I know that a lot of your listeners, and I've listened to a few of your episodes, are very active in the process. And there are some people that are very active, and that's fantastic. That's what they want to do. There's some people that don't want to think about the money. They actually want to be dedicated to something else. They want to be dedicated to their art, or to their business, or to their nonprofit that they founded, or what have you. And in doing that, they still have to keep an eye on it. They still have to think about it. They still have to pay some attention to their own financial success, because one day we all retire. One day we all rely on those assets. One day we need an income that we can't outlive, in retirement at some point. So how do we get there?
Excellent. Yeah, no, I think that's there's a lot of wisdom there, and it is understanding that we're being, words matter, and what we allow into our hearts, into our minds, right? And everyone, and people care, right, about there is passion in this world, and that's important, right? But realize that it's it can be, it may not be aligned with your values and your purpose and your goals and what you've been called to do and the people you've been called to serve, right? And it's protecting yourself from not being inundated with things that are distracting or not helping you in your purpose. So, okay, so that's kind of understanding that where we're at and the realities of those facts. So maybe that's kind of step number one. What would be step number two once we're moving towards money mindfulness? What's the second secret here?
Well, so if the first step is understanding where you're going, the second step is actually creating a plan to get there, right? Is understanding the trade-offs you're going to have to make along the way. In the process of setting your goals, you're doing a couple things. One, you're identifying the things that are important to you. Two, you're identifying the things that are not as important to you. And so now, as you move forward into the world, you know that you've agreed, in this process, you've agreed that I'm not going to pursue this and this and this and this, so that I have the higher probability of achieving this and this and this and this, right? I'm trading things off in my life. How this shows up in life in many places, and I live here in the San Francisco Bay Area, it's very expensive to live here. But there's a question. If it's cheaper to live in Pinole and commute to San Francisco, and you can get a bigger house for that, is it worth the 2-hour time spent in commuting every day? And these are trade-offs. These are trade-offs we can make either just happenstance or we can make intentionally. And to get to that intentional trade-off and to write these into a documented plan that can carry you through. Your plan is something that can do two things for you. It can defend you against bad decisions. So what does my plan say I'm supposed to do here? It can also be the thing that pulls you through. What are my goals? Well, I have those in my plan. If I just follow this plan, I see that 10 years of doing this, I'll get to this thing that's really important to me, whether it's retirement or sending a kid to school or the second home purchase that's, in Napa or up in Tahoe. And so having these things written down, creating a path, which is, date specific, dollar specific, that fits within your resources. Like how much can I save to actually make these things happen? And then simplifies the step that most advisors spend the most time on, simplifies the investment step. Investing shouldn't be that complex. It shouldn't be that active. The research all tells us that those folks who are the most active are not necessarily the most successful. The people that are most active put the most effort and time into investing in a better way, don't actually end up with better returns. And so what can you do to do it really simply and really easily and still get there? First, you got to know where there is, got to make your trade-offs, and then you keep it simple.
Excellent. Yeah, tons of wisdom there. And it makes me think of the quote that we're either living in apprehension or anticipation, and it's our choice. And it's mostly dependent upon the plan of what you're designing, like a life plan, a financial plan, a health plan, all the major areas of our lives, right? And a lot of the world, and we can even fall, if we're out of the habit of planning and reviewing the plan and living by the plan, we can fall into the apprehension stage, right? Where we're kind of getting caught up in the distractions and the chaos and just the speed and the pace of life and information, right? Versus living in what's called anticipation, where we have that clear vision of that plan, of those goals, right? Of the why behind those, the meaningful part of the purpose, the values, everything's aligned there. And it has a way of like a magnet, like pulling you towards that as you're focusing on those things, right? Because where your focus is, the energy follows, right? Or the energy is a part of where you're focusing on. And so realizing those two things. So I want to focus on the one thing to say, like, identifying what's important and what's not important, right? And I think there's a time to say yes and a time to say no. So what's your best personal secret of saying no? Jonathan, what do you do there to help to defend against those things that are distracting from your purpose?
I am so bad at saying no. I am not the one to take advice on saying no. Often what we've done, so the questions I get are questions of that I need to say no to more often, are questions of time. Jonathan, can you come and do this? Can you come and do that? Can you serve on this board? Can you help this committee? Can you fundraise for this thing or do this other thing? And they're all fantastic. They're all wonderful, well-meaning people that have very important work and they want help and they deserve help. And so my gut is to help. My gut is to find a way to do it. What ends up happening though is when you spread yourself really, really, really thin across many, many, many people asking many, many questions, you're not doing anyone any good. And you're certainly not doing your health any good or your own personal goals any good. So remembering your plan, remembering what you have to do to fulfill your plan, and then choosing selectively the things that you can engage in, that you're passionate about, that you want to do and you want to support. And then you basically have to have a rote phrase. You know what? And this is one of our phrases that I use, and I actually counsel clients on this as well. And you may know this if you get involved in philanthropy and you start giving money away. Once you give money to an organization, that organization has a process to move you up the pyramid of giving, right? You give them $1,000. Next year they say, hey, thanks for that $1,000. And this year it'd be really great. We have these great projects and great things we want to do. It'd be great if you could give us $2,500. And then if you do that this year, then the next year it'll be $5,000. Nothing wrong with that. I expect that every single time I do it. There's a phrase you need to create. You need to have a ready thing to say, whether it's time or money. You know what? I have committed my space or my money or my time or my expertise for the year, and I'm going to review this with my wife or my family or my committee or my team at the end of the year for what we're going to do next year. So please give me the details, and I will review it with my team, and then we'll go over the things we're going to actually focus on, and then stick with it. Like, you've made a decision. You have a team. You've got your family, your wife, your partner that you want to do this with, and now that you know what it is, do that and just have a process and build a process around it. And that will empower you to say no. Again, whether it's money spend or time spend. I am horrible at it, but I know there's a process in place. And I still end up probably saying yes more often than I should.
Absolutely love that. Having that plan of response, right? So we're not acting out of just emotion or, again, apprehension, right? We're actually living in anticipation, and we're living purposefully with our goals in mind. So I like that. I have a committed, I have committed my time, my energy, my finances for this year and I will review with my team, with my family, right? And then I will we'll assess based upon that. Is that a fair summary on that phrase? You want to say it one more time?
I think you said it right. I mean, that was perfect. Yeah, we'll assess at the end of the year, and then we'll review the request, and we'll review the request in the context of all the other requests, and we'll see whether I have time for that committee or money for that giving next year.
Perfect. Love that. That's great. So step one was going internal, right? And going focus and meditating and focusing on the values, purpose, and goals. Step two is creating that plan. I'd imagine step three is maybe executing, or could you walk us through what that next step is?
Yeah. Step three is as you said, it's execution. It should be very, very, very simple. And in my book, I mean, we talk about the first section of the book. We talk about all the curious illusions that Wall Street and our culture kind of puts in our way to keep us from being very successful. And they're sales tactics, and there's just some belief systems that aren't helpful. In the middle section of the book, we talk about this whole process of discovering your values, figuring out what's important to you, and then pursuing that specific thing. And then the third section of the book is we're talking about how do we build a plan based on those values and those goals. And if you think about going from values to goals, you've got goals that are 10 years away, 20 years away, 30 years away, and then you can back into actions. You can back into execution. So if you have a goal, I turned 50 last week. So if my goal is to retire at 65, that's 15 years away. I can say, okay, this is the pool of assets I need 15 years from now, so that I can have an income stream that I can't outlive. So what do I need to save between here and that date? What are the kinds of returns I need between here and that date to make that possible? And so by backing into it, I know that today I have to save $500 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever it is, $20,000 a year, whatever those numbers are to meet your plan and your needs and your goals. You've backed into what those steps are today. And so if you know what you need to save, then guess what? That actually backs up further into, what am I doing for work? What do I have to do to work? Do I have to earn more to make that possible? Do I have to get another advanced certificate or a degree, or what do I have to do to make sure that happens? Oh, and if you do this early enough in life, it gets a lot easier. But every time someone that's 55, 60, just starting this process, just starting to think about this, it's amazing to me that people don't actually set goals. They just kind of shoot from their hip their whole lives. I hate the gun metaphors, but that's what people do, right? But we see it all the time. Someone comes to us late in life, no plan. Hey, can I retire in 5 years? Sure, you may have to make a lot of trade-offs to make that possible, but if you start earlier, you're much better off.
Very well said. By the way, you can learn more about Jonathan DeYoe at mindful.money. That's mindful.money. So let's shift into this segment of the show where we talk about capital gains tax deferral. I grew up in the Bay Area, Mission, San Jose, Fremont, not too far from Pinole, right? And in fact, my wife and I got engaged in San Francisco. We love the Bay Area. A lot of wealth, a lot of appreciation, right? Growing up in the Bay Area, houses and housing values went from pretty reasonably priced 30 years ago to just maybe some of the most expensive in the nation. And so you get folks who want to sell these high-end primary homes, want to sell commercial real estate, folks that are in the tech industry that are selling businesses and have startups and have capital gains tax. And it's somewhere between 30 and 50% of their gain, depending on the appreciation recapture and a couple other things. So I'm curious, what's the biggest frustration you've seen with clients, friends or family, when it comes to selling highly appreciated assets that they want to defer the capital gains tax on?
So this may be a unique practice. I mean, my practice, we work with a lot of very wealthy people, but most of the people we work with aren't as tax averse as many wealthy people you read about or you hear about. In fact, most of my clients would say, hey, we should have a little bit higher income tax on them. Obviously, no one likes to pay capital gains, but there's tools that we use. So I'll just explain. One of the tools we use the most often, or especially this last year, has been a charitable remainder trust. So most of my clients have enough assets that they are in a position that they're giving it away anyways. So if you're giving it away anyways, and you have an asset you're going to sell that that's highly appreciated, has a low basis, you can actually tuck that into a charitable vehicle, whether that's a donor advised fund or a charitable remainder trust or something like that, and it eliminates capital gains when you sell it. You can't do it if it's encumbered by a loan. There's other rules and issues around it, but most of our clients, when they are faced with large capital gains, they're actually going to look to charitable vehicles to reduce the capital gain. And if you use the charitable vehicles the right way, you can actually create an income stream that lasts the rest of your life. And then the remainder goes to charity. That's what a charitable remainder trust is. And we've set up probably, I don't know, maybe half a dozen of those, this year, which it's been a great year for that, because you're right, assets, every asset, business assets, stocks, bonds are really good, but also real estate and personal private businesses are just the values have just gone off the charts this year. It's been incredible.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, we love the CRT, especially charitable minded and charitable giving. And if you're going to give it away anyways, it's a great vehicle. It's tried and true, and it's fantastic. For those who are not as charitable inclined, or maybe they're like, hey, I got 10 million and I'm definitely charitable inclined with 3 of it, but the other 7, perhaps with my family, or perhaps with just more different entrepreneur ventures. Like I have some clients that, one of them sold a primary home in Palo Alto for 8.3 million. And part of his goal was retirement for himself and his kids. He has 5 kids. So it wasn't is charitable. It's more like charity starts at home for him on those first 5 kids, right? So what are some of the things that are solutions that you've run into, or challenges you've run into for those who aren't as charitable?
Yeah, the things we've used in the past, and I know there's a couple other tools that you talk about a lot. The deferred vehicles, the 1031 exchange. You've talked about that. We've used those. Clients have used those. The Delaware statutory trusts, we've used those, so people get some diversification. I've actually run a lot into people that are done managing real estate, like they've built wealth through real estate and they just don't want to manage it anymore. So some of those vehicles actually have been pretty attractive. We don't broker those anymore. I did 7 years ago, but I don't broker them anymore. So we can advise on them. We talk to people about how to save taxes with using them, but they don't get them through us. They get them through other people, other brokers. They build them themselves through IPX, or this place out of Chicago that does it. Mm-hmm. I know you've talked about, and this is, I'm actually very curious about the deferred tax trust, because I think California has said no for California. Isn't there something that came down about that? I'd love to hear what your comments are on that.
Yeah, that's one of the, I call it the drive-by media, right? And so, sometimes people will take something out of context and then they'll run with it. So, the Deferred Sales Trust is based upon 1920s tax law. It's an installment sale.
Yep.
It's federal tax law, right? Just like IRC 1031 is federal, IRC 453 is federal. So the first thing to understand is the Deferred Sales Trust is based upon federal tax law. It's not a state specific. Second, the majority of our deals are actually done in California, and we've never had one single negative result phenomenal in California in the 25-year history, including thousands and thousands and thousands of closes, billions under management. Now, this particular franchise tax board notice was sent to qualified intermediaries in regards to installment-like structures that were for those other, and we like to say we are an installment sale, right? But it didn't specifically say deferred sales trust, but structures that are not basically holding back, withholding what's owed to the franchise tax board. And we always withhold, and we always follow those rules. And so they were specifically targeting exchange accommodators that basically weren't following the rules as they saw it fit. And so they were noticing them. But some of our competitors, they write blogs, and one of our competitors for a lot of folks is the 1031 companies. And so they took that notice and they added deferred sales trust, and they said that California calls it illegal, right? And we've literally closed, I don't know, at least 10 deals in California alone, saving multiple failed 1031 exchanges this year, and have never had a single negative result. In fact, the biggest audit was actually take place in San Diego, California. And it was a $125 million commercial property, and that was reviewed. That was reviewed, and that was a no change audit. And so it's literally batting 1,000, but there are those who don't want you to know about it. They want to keep a lot of clients in the Delaware statutory trust and or the 1031 exchange. But a lot of baby boomers, a lot of folks don't want to deal with the toilets to trash liability, and or they have like cryptocurrency or a primary home that doesn't even qualify for a Delaware, doesn't qualify for a 1031 or a business sale. So that's where we fit in. But it's it's interesting to see. And so far we're batting 1,000 and it's working perfectly. But you can learn more about that at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Does that answer the question?
It does. Well done. Well done. And it's funny. I would hate to be 25 and trying to figure this out today, because there's so much noise, and the noise is, like I said, like everyone is trying to sell something. In that circumstance, it's 1031 people saying, you know what, this isn't good. Don't pursue this. Pursue what we do. Right. And I see that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's the reality of it. But and the tax attorneys also stand behind their work. They provide lifetime audit defense, state or federal, and we also don't charge anything unless someone actually closes the deal. So it's literally like a no-cost due diligence period where you can review all this, we can go through it all, and like if you don't choose it, hey, no problem. Like someone's got to pay down the 29 trillion, right? Or go do the 1031. That's great. Like I'm a California real estate broker myself. I still help my clients do 1031s. I've done Delaware statutory trust, but it is interesting to see the calls that we get all the time about that, but it's a part of it. But that being said, we're running out of time. Are we ready for the lightning round?
Let's do it.
All right. So knowing what you know now, if you can go back to your 25-year-old self, what is the one golden nugget make sure to tell yourself to do?
So the 25-year-old self, when I was 25, or 25-year-old self today, because today it would be avoid distraction. Then it would just put your nose to the grindstone. Like literally when I was a kid, I didn't want to. So put the nose, work hard would be the message. Today it'd be like, how do you avoid distraction? Do whatever you can. Turn off your notifications, avoid distraction. Distraction will ruin your future.
That is such a mindful response, by the way. And I've never had someone answer it in both sides of the spectrum, right? If you were 25 today and 25 then, and that's so much wisdom. Thank you for that, Jonathan. Sure. I appreciate that. Second question, what's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year? And also feel free to plug your book that you kind of mentioned a little bit midway through so people know how to find that.
So the book I've talked about the most, I don't know if you know Stephen Pressfield, the War of Art. So Stephen Pressfield writes about resistance, about the things that keep us from producing our best work, the headspace stuff that keeps us from doing our best work. And he's got 4 or 5 books on how to write and how to produce, good content and good work. And he writes novels and he writes great stuff. He's actually the author of The Legend of Bagger Vance, which is a great book. I've submitted that, given that book away, traded it, offered it, shared it so often this year, because it's what I deal with. It's my biggest struggle. In writing my own book, it was Stephen Pressfield's book that helped me push through to finish the first book. And I'm in the middle of my second book. And so I'm going back to Stephen Pressfield saying, how do I get through this thing? I think if you're a writer or a painter or an artist, even if you're a business owner, you're launching businesses and entrepreneurial, reading Stephen Pressfield's work on resistance is, I think, incredibly important. Highly recommended.
Awesome. And then also plug your book real quick too. What's your book?
It's Mindful Money, which makes perfect sense, right? Mindful Money.
Perfect. Second to last question. What are you most curious about right now?
Oh, wow. I'm actually in the process of moving away from the entrepreneurial part of my business and towards more direct client work and then writing more. So I'm very curious about the future of the financial services industry. I think that probably the prices that people like me charge are going to be reduced over time, unless they can boost services. And there's a lot of services that can be increased, so that's possible. But I'm wondering how we actually move the viewpoint away from the shiny dot, away from the SPAC, the NFT, the crypto, to the things that are productive assets. Because I do think that we're in this period of time where, and I have no problem with Bitcoin, I've got no problem with crypto, but I have a problem with 4,000 different crypto coins. Like one or two of them will be very successful. The blockchain is going to be a very important technological advancement. But there's a lot of people that have a lot of money being sucked into this right now, just like there was in .com, just like there was in real estate in 2007, just like there was in oil when it was really expensive, just like gold when it was really expensive. It's a shiny thing and everyone chases it with money. And then we create media cycles around it. So I'm very curious how we get through this period of excitement and frankly, greed. As we get through the excitement and greed, there's going to be a lot of things that fail, and there's going to be some things that come back and are that work again. And I'm curious about where the fallout comes from.
So am I. Very good answer. Last question. After all your success, writing your books, helping so many people, and all your background in mindful thinking and finances, how do you stay centered? And maybe you've kind of answered it the entire show, but how do you stay centered in your values, and how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
So this is the worst time to introduce this topic for me, because the end of the show, this opens up a whole nother thing. So we have to talk again. So I used to have a very, very, very strong morning routine, and my morning routine was about 3 hours long, and it involved, I get up, I would meditate, I would read, I would write, I would exercise, I would read some more and write some more. But 5.5, 6 months ago, my brother drowned in the Pacific Ocean. So when that happened, it changed a lot for me in terms of what's important, and it blew my morning routine all to hell. And I'm trying to get it back. I've been telling myself for the last couple of weeks, okay, this Saturday we're gonna row again. This Saturday we're gonna work out again, and we're gonna begin this process and begin digging back in. I think that I built up a bank of resilience and mindfulness in 20 something years of meditation and 20 something years of following that morning practice. But right now it's, I am, I think, at risk because my morning routine is just shot right now. I'm getting it back, but it's, it comes with trauma. It comes with challenge and difficulty, and we rebuild.
Sorry for your loss, and thank you for sharing that. And absolutely, I'd love to have you back on the show at a later date to discuss that journey if you're open to that, as well as how you've reestablished those habits and what you learned from it. So I want to thank you, Jonathan, for being on the show. I want to thank you for sharing so much wisdom with us, a part of your story. I want to encourage you to keep using the gifts of the belief that you can do it, right? And you can make a difference in people's lives, as well as the ability to focus on what's good in our lives and helping us good in your life, as well as what's good in our lives, right? And helping others to do the same so they can create and preserve more wealth and just live a more holistic, great life. So thank you for being on the show. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you mind one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
Just go to mindful.money. It's not mindfulmoney.com. It's mindful.money, and you'll find all the social links and all that kind of stuff right there. You can send me a note in the little subscribe to the newsletter and send me a note there. That's fine as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonathan, DeYoe. And I want to thank our listeners also for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. By the way, also stream on expertcresecrets.com as well if you're checking us out there, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust, even the CRT, as a way to defer capital gains tax. You can create and preserve more wealth when selling cryptocurrency, a business, real estate, save a failed 1031 exchange. If you want to learn more about the Deferred Sales Trust, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Thanks so much for watching this. Please rate, review, subscribe. We appreciate everyone out there,